from the field. I mean, they're living right now on Antonio Reeves. And that's got to be the game plan, I think, going forward if you're playing against them. Limit Antonio Reeves, because if you limit Antonio Reeves and he doesn't get a hot shooting start, then you're forcing the game toward everybody else, and Dillingham's going to get his, but you close up on everybody else, and you really don't trust the bigs right now. I really don't. And they just don't close out defensively.
They don't do a lot of things defensively. They don't guard screens. They don't. There's a lot there they don't. This
is the blueprint for a second-round exit. Just basically the same thing as what happened last year.
Okay, let's get to the next caller. Who do we got next on the phone line?
We've got Steve on the line.
All right, Steve, how's it going tonight?
Good, gentlemen. How you doing, gentlemen?
What's going on, Steve?
I mean, as good as you can do after washing crap like that. I mean, I'm going to be honest.
It's frustrating. There are things that this team can do to be better, but one thing we haven't talked too much about, tonight somebody had a guy who could guard DJ Wagner going to the basket. So DJ was kind of taken out of the game. I noticed that. And then in the second half, I saw something. I've been complaining about the fact that when we switch, we got guys that they'll go down in the post, and what I call it is they're guarding the basket. And then there's a guy standing wide open like 10 feet from them, and they're guarding the basket. You got to get out there. So what happened in the second half, there was a point where DJ and DJ and our boy were out there, and he grabbed DJ and had to push him 3 feet so he would know the guy he was supposed to be defending. And I'm so upset I can't even think of who it was. Wheeler. Not Wheeler. Thank you. Anyway, yeah. So he literally had to grab DJ and throw him physically with his left arm. He's like, that guy, because he was guarding the wrong guy. And it's been happening a lot. When you switch, you have to know what you're doing. You can't switch and then just back off. That's what Louisville is so bad at. Anybody that's watched a Louisville game.
Well, where did Kenny Payne learn how to coach defense? He learned it from Cal. I mean, this is like,
I know.
What do you expect here? I mean,
they tell them you got to fight over a screen all the time. That's true. And what they do is when they're scared, and if adversity hits you in the face, Mike Tyson said everybody has a plan until they get hit in the mouth.
That's right.
And that's the truth. What happened tonight is the adversity that they need. The problem is you got to get better from it. And I'm not sure that it's going to be there. But I have been saying all season, the team we are in February is the team that matters. Coach Cal has 1 month to teach his team to play defense. And he's going to have to play his best defensive players. And I think this is going to be counterintuitive. But he's going to have to shorten the lineup and play his best defensive players. And another problem is with the 3-center situation, there are times where they're physically not quick enough to either get open or defend because of the guy they're defending. And that happened a couple times tonight where they just physically aren't quite quick enough if you're to guard a guy that's facing the basket out by the 3-point line. That happened tonight too. So he's just got to put his 5 best defenders out there, and they've got to start getting more of the minutes. And I'm not even sure who those guys are. And it really hurts when Edwards is a decent athletic guy, but he doesn't score. And he needs to be out there playing some defense. So maybe a dude comes back. That's all I'm saying. We've got a month to learn to play defense. If we can do that, we can be somebody. If we can't do that, well, this is the most talented team I've ever seen Kentucky have, in my opinion. As you know, so if we don't make the Final Four, I think we should fire Cal. But whatever.
By the way, why is Reed Sheppard only playing 14 minutes tonight?
Yeah, that was another thing that I found was kind of odd, that Reed Sheppard really wasn't on the floor.
I actually had to go back and just check Twitter to make sure I didn't miss him getting hurt or something like that. Because why is he only playing? Why is he only playing 14 minutes? I mean, so he obviously did something. I'm sure it's going to be confronted in Cal's post-game remarks, although, we'll see what kind of post-game press conference he does. If he actually does one, by the way, we're not going to carry it here, but if you go listen to it, it should be know that it's delivered by the Kentucky Office of Highway Safety. Whether you walk, pedal, or drive, let's share the road safely. Share the road, Kentucky.
I want to talk about the idea of shortening the lineup because me and Louis have discussed this on more than one occasion as far as guys' minutes that are going to get cut. Justin Edwards seems like the prime candidate for his numbers are going to get cut down because of Big Z. They're going to play him some more minutes. You, of course, have to play Bradshaw his minutes. He doesn't get a ton, but he has to get his minutes. Dillingham's going to get his. Reeves is going to get his. It seems like Justin Edwards is the prime candidate to have his numbers cut down or his minutes cut down. I do think they're going to have to shorten the lineup a little bit, but
I do think the ideal number going into the tournament is to be at 8.
You want to be, yeah. I think what is the old saying? Like you play 8, trust 7, or
I know
you
what you're
play
saying.
7, trust 6, something along those lines. But how much offense do you want to sacrifice for better defense? Because part of what makes this team good is the fact that they generally score about 80 to 85 points, and was tonight an off night, or is this an indication of what this team's going to be going forward? I think that's going to be – we're going to find out a lot Saturday because we're going to Arkansas, and Arkansas hasn't been very good this year, but that's a snake pit of an arena to play in.
That's a tough place to play.
That's going to be very tough. We're going to learn a lot about this team, I think, mentally bouncing back from a game like this because they just – for whatever reason, from the very beginning of this game, they didn't seem to want to be there, and I don't know what it was.
Well, and that's what the comment I made to you, like when it got to, we said it was a 4-point game at one point.
42-38 early in the second half. Reeves hit a couple of shots. They looked like they were starting to get their legs underneath them, and then 22-8 South Carolina run.
And then in the middle of that, before they even got to the full-on run, I literally said, told you, this is over. I mean, they're not playing with any urgency. They're not fighting on defense. They're not looking like they've got to actually do anything to kind of to cut into this lead. It was befuddling to me. Who's next on the phone line?
Let's see. We've got
Gary.
We got Gary on the
line.
All right,
Gary. What's going on, Gary?
Sorry, I forgot your name there, Gary. What's up, man?
First of all, that was a total embarrassment. What I just watched. That is the most inept defense I've seen a John Calipari team have, period. These guys, I agree with you about Shepard minutes, but why is Justin Edwards getting so many minutes, guys?
He's been an
absolute disappointment this year. Let's be honest about it. An absolute disappointment. He plays way too many minutes out there. I don't know why Calipari, if he's promised him minutes, I have no idea, but he plays too many minutes, number one. Number two, the blueprint has absolutely been shown tonight. Physicality will beat Kentucky. They have the only physical player they have, real physical player they have is Sierra, and who in the hell knows when he's coming back? According to Calipari tonight in pregame, he's running and jumping and working out and dunking, but he's over and not dressed out tonight. What the hell's that? What the hell's that? I don't know, man. This is frustrating, but to be as talented as this team is on offense, which they are, it's probably his best offensive team he's ever had. But it is no doubt about it's the worst defensive team he's ever had. And you guys talking about shortening rotation, I agree with that to a degree. But tell me 5 players on this team that can play defense. They don't have 5 players on this team to play defense.
Do they have 3?
But they got to be able to play defense as a team. And this is, like, individually, we've seen Reed have good defensive moments, right?
Sure.
We've seen even DJ Wagner have good defensive moments. It's putting it together as a team. Like, the rotation on defense is god-awful. And
I agree.
That's something that, I don't spend 20 minutes doing a shell drill or a day or whatever it's got to be. It's just, to me, it's incredible how bad it is. It's almost like you have to try to be that bad.
I will end this call, guys, by saying this, and I really mean this. I hope for the best. I'm a big time Kentucky fan, but I try to be objective as best I can. But this team has absolutely zero chance of going to a Final Four this year unless they improve on the defensive end of the floor and rebound the ball better. They have no chance. And teams that get physical with them, here's the thing: when the team hits you in the mouth, hit them back harder. That's how you respond to it. This team, they got punked tonight. This team, South Carolina was laughing at. It was a joke. I mean, and by the way, I believe that's 4 out of the last 7 games South Carolina's beat Kentucky.
That's right.
And his coach is 2-0 against Calipari. He owns him. I'm out, guys.
Appreciate
All right, let's talk about his point number 1 about Justin Edwards because we've mentioned him a little bit. Justin Edwards actually had 23 minutes tonight, which is more than Onyenso and Big Z combined. Of course, Big Z, as good as his debut was as bad as it was today. He had 3 fouls in those 10 minutes. He's
still also working himself into game shape. I think at game one, what he did probably raised the expectations a little too much. My point
he went into like a top 10 draft pick based off
let's
of it.
relax. My point on Justin Edwards is basically, look, if you're going to play 23 minutes, you got to shoot more than once.
Well,
you got to assert yourself
the only
offensively,
person,
or you got to do something on the defensive end of the floor because you can't just be out there.
That's it. He hides.
Yeah,
and that's the thing. Like the only person who can play 23 minutes and have a stat line with fewer numbers in it is Zan Payne.
No, Zan Payne actually got on the stat sheet, I think, tonight.
He might have gotten on the stat sheet, but again, he would have had one thing. And this all this says is that you're on the floor for 23 minutes, but you're not doing anything.
What's he doing? Yeah. What's the one thing that Justin Edwards, is there anything memorable he did out there tonight? No.
And that's, we
had a couple rebounds. Good for him.
We made that point the last time out about, at least, when Thiero's on the floor, his points, might be 6 or 8, just like Justin Edwards usually is around that 6 to 8. But he's going to be involved with every loose ball out there.
He's crashing the boards. He's defending on the inside, and his impact is felt. You know that he's been out there. We don't know that Justin Edwards is out there. Can we just say DJ Wagner? What happened tonight with DJ Wagner? He got guarded by a guy who forced him out of the lane. He had to settle for jump shots. And I just wonder if that's going to be, again, the blueprint moving forward on DJ Wagner. He was 2 for 10 tonight. He just didn't have it. And he was going up against a guy that was bigger than him that could guard him and keep him out of the lane. So what's your backup? He's not a great shooter. He's good. He's not great.
I'm loving to find out why they basically benched Reed Shepherd. I just don't know. I really don't know. I don't know what could have happened. I mean, he played so sparingly in the second half. I mean, it's shocking.
I know Dillingham's your first guy off the bench.
Sure.
Just
and he should be.
Yes, no question.
Dillingham actually 50% from the floor, 7 for 14. But I think
he'll
what that
get
tells
player
me,
of the game, right?
Well,
I guess
let's go ahead and give it to him.
Because we don't have any other options.
Right. At the same time, what that shows me, Zach, is that Rob Dillingham's a good player, but he's not good enough to beat a team like to put this team on his back and make him go.
No, that would be Antonio Reeves. We mentioned he is the most impactful player on this team. Antonio Reeves is the guy, when he gets going, it seems to have the most impact throughout the team. Dillingham just kind of went and got his tonight. He was able to hit a couple of shots, played some one-on-one, but it just didn't translate. The plus-minus didn't really translate for Rob Dillingham. It's just teams are going to do their best to limit Antonio Reeves, and if they can do that, they're going to go in the second half. They're going to be pretty confident that they can hold that Kentucky offense. To score 62 tonight is a wake-up call, or it better be a wake-up call for this team.
Again, I'm Mike Gandolfo. He's Zach Cantrell, or BBZ as we like to call him around here. And
I get the title Big Z back after his performance tonight, right?
I don't know. Zach Eady's trying to take it from you, so we'll just have to see. And then, again, if you all want to join, we're going to go to the phone lines. We got another caller who's been on the line for a long time. But if you want to join the conversation, again, 267-9680. The text line is, I don't know if it's dead or if I'm just missing it.
It's been a little
weird today?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll pull it up.
I got nothing on my end. So 457, which seems really weird to not have any text, especially on a night like tonight. 437. I'm sorry, I said 457. 437-9680 is the UPS jobs text
I'll read
line.
some. You want me to go ahead and read some?
You got them. So
yeah.
Can I refresh here and get them, or let's see. Let's see if I can get some text going here. Yeah, because yeah, man.
Texter,
we got some text.
You got it. Texter said, "What was Big Z's numbers tonight? Big Rig crowned him as savior today." Yeah. Well, somebody tweeted out earlier that it's all Strebel's fault. If we're going to blame anybody, blame Strebel because he crowned him too early.
Our defense sucks and Cal subs too much and too often. I think we've already talked about that at the onset. Cal is 0-2 against this Bo Ryan disciple.
Texter says Cal needs to stop with the Edwards experience. Start your best players and play them the most minutes.
Yeah.
They're not physical. They missed the arrow. Yes, I think we've talked about that. I think that's absolutely true.
This team has the stench of losing in the first round all over it, going to face a mid-major full of seniors who hit 15 threes against our non-existent defense. I'll get into that in just a second.
Texter said Florida, A&M, Mississippi State all tried the same thing to force us to a half-court offense. The difference is that Kentucky didn't stop moving the ball like they did tonight. That's absolutely true.
That is a great point.
7 assists is an unacceptable number for this team, especially with how well they pass the ball. We've talked about in games how beautiful they are to watch as far as it's like poetry at times with the way that they can move. And they didn't get anything in transition tonight either. That was the other key aspect of this team. When they are rolling, they have great transition offense. They had no transition offense tonight.
This is a great question too. I don't know what's worse, being a Louisville fan and just having no hope, or being a Kentucky fan and having hope every single year but haven't done a damn thing in a decade.
I still think it's worse to be a Louisville fan.
I mean, at least at least we don't pretend like the basketball season's not even going on. So.
Right. At least we got a couple months to enjoy it.
All right, let's go back. Who's our caller?
We got Brian on the line.
Brian, what's going on? Thanks for holding, by the way, Brian. I appreciate you.
Hey, no worries, man. No problem. I would ask you how you're doing, but I don't want to insult you.
We're hanging in, Brian.
Yeah. I mean, I could go 1,000 different ways. I know I don't have a lot of time. I know a lot of people want to get in, but here's my thing, guys. And I'm watching the game tonight, and the one thing I hoped we could get beyond, coaching effort and that kind of thing. And I don't know that we're there yet. And I'm sitting there watching it with watching the game with my girlfriend, and good God, you ought to see her. She drops more F and GD bombs than I do during the game. She's like, why can't we stop them? How does it look so easy for them and so hard for us? And I'm telling her, I'm like, honey, it's because, South Carolina isn't doing anything spectacular to win this game. They're doing basic grade school kind of stuff. They're doing, pick and rolls and back doors and pick and pops. And I'm like, that's stuff that,
the fundamentals.
Middle school teams do. And I said, and for whatever reason, we can't defend it. And I said, and I think that's because, Calipari, thought it's funny as he thinks he is. He likes to say a lot of times, well, we don't watch film on the other team. We worry about ourselves. He said that a ton over the years. Is that true or not? I don't know. Sure looked like it tonight. But I just told her, I said, we can't stop this because he doesn't know how to teach them to stop this. And so I said, here's my thing. Everybody's been talking about defense all year, right? We score 105 points. Everything's all great, right? Because we can score that many points, and don't worry about the defense. Not a big deal. Well, it is a big deal, and I'll tell you this. There's going to come a time in the NCAA tournament, if we survive more than a game, where we are going to need coaching to get us out of a game where we're not shooting well. Just the game tonight is a perfect example of the kind of game that we might run into in the tournament, whenever that might be, where we need coaching because the offense is not great. We can't make shots. The defense is kicking our butt, blah, blah, blah. And I told her, I said, John Calipari is going to ruin the best offensive team he has ever had as a coach, and I'm counting the UMass in that comment. I said he is going to ruin the best offense he's ever had because he can't coach defense. He has no clue. He doesn't do zone. He has no idea how to defend somebody. And on top of that, so that's number one. Number two, he just like tonight, he has no idea how to get offense out of his team when the other team is cracking down on defense and stopping what he does well. Which, what we do well is anything other than half court. Take half court offense out of it, that's what this team does well. South Carolina took us out of that tonight, made us play their tempo. He had zero answer for how to get shots for his players, and that was the end of the game, guys. Once they took the transition out of the game, we were done because we can't do anything in the half court, and we obviously play no defense. So this is going to be a sad tale at the end of the year. We all love this team. We like watching them score. Saturday was great, the behind-the-pack pass, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's all fine and dandy, but at the end of this road is going to be heartbreak for the UK fans because John Calipari, one, cannot coach offense, honestly, and number two, he can't coach defense, and he doesn't have anybody on the staff that can figure out how to get these guys to play anything resembling defense. And honestly, it should be ingrained in these guys, man. They've been playing basketball their whole life. Take some pride, man. Don't let your guy get past you. That sort of thing. I don't know. It's a bad combination. This is going to be opportunity lost at the end of the year.
I don't disagree with you, man. I mean, I feel pretty much the same way. Thanks for calling, Brian. There's so much to unpack off that call, and it was a great call with
yeah.
great observations.
Yep.
Cal's teams have struggled in the half court ever since he's been here. That's nothing new. the ability to not even really get the team to fight and get them to fight back the way they need to fight back, and especially during that time when that run kind of started to happen, and there was Kentucky never called a timeout.
No.
Never called a timeout in the second half. Do you remember them calling a timeout in the second half?
I do not. Not even when they got down by 20 or anything.
They went to the media timeouts, and Cal never used those timeouts to stop a run, to try to shift momentum.
That's some Kenny Payne stuff right there.
I mean,
that might be the most surprising thing that happened in the second half, is that Cal didn't call a timeout.
And we're sitting here looking at all this, and again, I'm on record of not being the biggest Cal fan out there. Okay, yes, I've not. I think his tenure's done. He's been there longer than any other Kentucky coach out there. I don't think this is a Final Four team. I never got into what Ince thought about this team, this Final Four or bust with this team, because they can't defend. But the one thing that Brian said that I want to really go back to, and I'm gonna just summarize like this: if you're gonna win 6 games in the NCAA tournament and cut down the nets, or 4 games to get to a Final Four, you better be able to win multiple ways, and you better be able to win ugly.
Yeah, you're not going to win every game 90 to 85. You're going to have a grinder game. You're going to have a team that is able to play this half-court style. And, Kentucky in the past has won games playing in the half court, but that's when they've had dominant big men. And I'm not sure that any of these big men are capable of doing what Anthony Davis did, certainly, or Karl Anthony Towns, or, even Josh Harrelson, what he did in 2011, helped Kentucky get to the Final Four. I don't know if any of these guys are capable of doing that right now. And I don't see them being able to stop a competent offensive basketball team below 75 points. And they're going to run up against a couple teams that can flat out defend them, and especially if they can contain Antonio Reeves. But
I really want to see that Purdue matchup, honestly.
This game, I think, has to make Kentucky fans reevaluate their expectations. I think we can still say the ceiling is there, but
the talent's there. I mean,
the talent is certainly there.
But there's got to be a commitment to defense. There's got to be a commitment to, we're getting beat. We're going to fight back. We're going to get gritty. We're going to keep playing. We're going to do we're going to shift some things up. We're going to try to take away something. Because here's what I'll say. I also probably don't understand why Kentucky fans are very hard on Mark Stoops, but I feel like Cal sometimes gets a free pass. And when you think about what Stoops has done, going to Gator Bowls and going to a Gator Bowls, to me, is like going to the round of 32 in the NCAA tournament. Going to whatever the bowl is, Citrus Bowl's probably like getting to maybe a Sweet 16, right?
Okay.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Cal ain't doing that.
When's the last? The last time they?
And
went
this
to
is
the
Kentucky basketball, not Kentucky football.
Last time they went to the second weekend was in 2019.
Yeah, it's been. I was at that regional final against Auburn in 2019 that they lost. I was in Kansas City. I was actually bouging it up in a suite. A friend of mine got me into a suite there right on half court, and I'm like, okay, Kentucky's already beat Auburn a couple times. We're going to the Final Four. I'm going to be here for it and all that stuff. I drove, the 9 hours or whatever it took me to get there, and lo and behold, I had to sit there and watch that loss, and they haven't been back to that second weekend since. And again, growing up, except for the years that Kentucky got in trouble, I remember that year that Kentucky lost to Marquette in the round of 32 in 1994, it was, and just thinking, this is not what we do. We don't lose in the round of 32.
Your season doesn't start until the Sweet 16.
Right. I mean, it was every freaking year they were in the Sweet 16 when I was a kid growing up, and it wasn't even a question of whether or not they were going to get to the Sweet 16. Mm-hmm. And now we've had COVID in there and whatever else and blah, 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 blah.
The 2020 team might have made a run, but we don't know.
Yeah.
2021 had every opportunity to do it, and they didn't.
And so
2022.
Kentucky basketball shouldn't have multiple years in a row, 2-3 years in a row of not going to the second weekend.
No. It's just inexcusable.
A couple losses to Kansas State in there.
You lost twice to Kansas State. You lose to St. Peter's, obviously. I mean, the NCAA tournament is random. I get that. But when you have enough talent, you should be able to at least get to a Sweet 16. That's where Kentucky's season should start, and that has not been the case. I mean, they entered the game leading the entire nation averaging 92 points a game that got held 30 points below that. Think about
So
that.
I actually think that Cal's being held to a smaller standard than Mark Stoops is. And I think that's ridiculous.
Of course, because Kentucky's a basketball school, not a football school.
But that means the standard should be higher for him.
Correct.
That no way, shape, or form should what's happened the last couple of years. If his name was Tubby Smith, he would have been out a long time ago.
Texter said maybe Kenny Payne did win those games.
That's right.
Good
All right.
text.
We've named our player of the game with it being Rob Dillingham. We've talked about the Kentucky Office of Highway Safety, so we'll go now to the UPS top 25 UPS jobs top 25 scoreboard. I'm going to pull it up real quick. Shift your future at UPS jobs. I'm flipping between screens, man. I'm struggling right now. I am on the struggle bus. Apply today at upsjobs.com. All right, so we're going to talk about the day it was in college basketball. It's a busy one. We know the Kentucky lost to South Carolina 79-62. Duke takes down Louisville 83-69. The point was made here in the studio that Louisville actually played Duke closer than Kentucky played South Carolina. That hurts.
Hang the banner, Louisville fans.
Xavier is on top of Creighton right now at halftime, 39-38. Another Big East thriller. Purdue is laying it thick on to Michigan. They're up 34-21 with 3 minutes left to go in the first half. I got to mute my computer, which I think y'all would figure that out by now. The game of the night, I think, the Houston-BYU matchup. Houston 33, BYU 32. Are you surprised, by the way, that Mark Pope doesn't get more run around here to be a
help or hurt him in this instance? I don't know.
Well, I think having a Patino guy helps him. I think having a Patino guy at Kentucky doesn't help him, right?
Yes.
And so Mark Pope's doing an incredible job down at BYU. They're trailing Houston by 33-32 with 3 minutes left to go in the first half. Dayton beats LaSalle tonight 66-54. Texas upsets number 11 Oklahoma on the road 75-60. And Wisconsin takes down Minnesota 61-59.
Do you see what Houston did to UCF the other day?
I did see that.
UCF made 7 shots the entire game.
42 points.
They shot, I think it was 18.
Because I remember looking at that and thinking that Kentucky scored more than UCF and Houston
in
combined.
The first half. Yeah, that's right. They did combine. That's also true.
So, how would Kentucky match up with Houston right now, the way that they defend? How would Kentucky match up with Purdue, the way that they want to put it in the half court? All these things we're going to get answered, because if they're going to face a team like this, how would Kentucky even play against BYU right now?
Yeah,
a very smart team that can control the tempo and control the pace.
Yeah,
that
those
can
are the
hit
teams
the three.
that worry about that Kentucky should worry about, is those teams that can play the deliberate pace, the teams that can shoot the threes. Yeah, I don't know if I feel good about those matches if I'm a Kentucky fan. I'd rather play a run-and-gun kind of team right now.
So it's going to be fascinating to see how the rest of it plays out. Because
BYU's got 32 points against Houston already with 3 minutes to go in the first half.
Yeah, where were you when I was just get that score, right? We talked about Mark Pope. Yeah.
How about that?
Is there any more text going on?
One guy texter said, when Mark Stoops wins a title, we can talk. Well, look, okay, so there is no expectation for Kentucky football to ever win a national championship. There's lots of expectations for Kentucky basketball to win a national championship. And with Calipari's talent, he should have more than one title. He should have at least 2, because they should have won in 15. You could argue that in 11 or 14, they probably should have won one of those. The comparison is not a good one, I don't think.
Here's what I know. I know at the end of Tubby's reign, okay, so Tubby, 07, he was 22-12. And I know that was before you were here. He's 22-13, 05, 06. He won the SEC and made it to the Elite Eight the year before that with a 28-16. That's the team that – is that the team where Bogans had the hurt ankle? Or was that 22-20? That's 2003.
Bogans got hurt in 2003.
Yeah, that's the one, the team that probably should have gone to the Final Four.
Yeah, they lost to Dwayne Wade and Marquette in the Elite Eight.
So, Tubby did have 4 years out of his whole time here where they lost in the round of 32. Never lost in the first round, obviously. Won the national title.
Yep.
if you look at that and you compare it to,
Tubby never got back to the Final Four after '98. Did
he never got back to the Final Four. He went back to the Elite Eight a couple times.
Yeah, 05 and 03.
And like I said, we said 03 is a woulda, coulda, shoulda year for sure.
They were probably the best team that year.
They probably were. And of course, Bogans gets hurt. But then you look at John Calipari's. In that Tubby basically got run out because of that, right? I mean, he's following Rick Pitino.
He technically left to go to Minnesota, but he basically got.
I was at Rupp Arena at the Sweet 16 when all that was announced, and Tubby was actually in the stands, and then kind of disappeared, and then the news broke that he was going to Minnesota.
Calipari had a good start as far as Final Fours. He got there 4 times in a 5-year stretch, but he hasn't been there since 2015.
And since 2015, lost in the round of 32 in 2016.
Elite 8 and
Elite
17.
8, a Sweet 16, and Elite 8. No tournament in 2020 because of COVID.
No tournament in 21.
21 though, and they had the losing record of 9 and 16, right? Yep. So it was, even though it was a COVID year, they were terrible, and then. Lost in the first round, lost in the round of 32, and then we're going to see what happens this year.
Yeah.
Not acceptable.
Do I think they can get to the second weekend? Yes. But I also won't be surprised if they're out in the second round again. Wouldn't surprise me if they're out in the first if they get the wrong matchup.
And to me, it's a different conversation on football and basketball is you're going to be able to replace John Calipari with somebody who wants to be here.
Of course. Kentucky, when that job comes open, every coach or
not
95% of coaches in America are going to crawl to that job.
Yeah, and
not every coach, but most of them.
In Kentucky football, you've got to really think about who would really replace Mark Stoops. He should have more titles for sure, but Stoops has 0. Don't compare the two. I think people are missing my comparison. I'm saying that, but it's okay. It's all right. All right. Zach, what else we got tonight? We didn't really get the Cox's and Evergreen Liquors what to watch because there's really nothing else top 25 left.
No, they're all underway.
They're all underway. There's nothing that isn't a late game that hasn't started. I am excited about this weekend, though. Are you a wrestling guy at all?
I've been into wrestling, yeah.
A little Royal Rumble action this weekend.
How about that? I'm excited about the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, so I will say that, and I know this conversation was going on this morning, I think, on the Diener show. Peacock is like the best value for a streaming service out there.
Yes, and everybody complains about the fact that they had an NFL playoff game on Peacock, and I'm like, guys, Peacock is a great service. Plus, look, you're probably streaming
$60 for the entire year.
Yeah,
and I got all the wrestling pay-per-views. They got good movies on there.
Yeah, so it's $5.99 for an NFL playoff game. Did you get a latte today? Okay, yeah, you can watch the playoff game.
And so I'm excited about that for the weekend. The Cats this weekend, though. We said they got to go play Arkansas. And not only that, game day is going to be there.
Yep.
And it's a 6 o'clock game, so they're all going to be trashed. And, Musselman will be Musselman. Kentucky's going to have to match the energy.
Yeah, they're going to have to bring a whole lot more energy than they brought tonight because they looked like they didn't want to be there tonight. And I don't know what happened. I don't know if they thought South Carolina was going to be an easy game, but that was the first time all year that they just came out completely flat. They played harder against Wilmington than they played tonight.
And I'm not saying, again, I think Arkansas is not very good. Okay, we know this. They're 10-8 on the year. They've only won one conference game so far. That one conference game being Texas A&M, who Kentucky lost to. So that was 78-77. But they got drubbed by Florida. They even lost to Georgia. There's no shame in losing to Auburn, but they lost by 32 points to Auburn. They beat UNC Wilmington.
They did.
So. This game's they beat Duke. I mean, this game is gonna be not as easy, I think, as what people think.
No.
And get a look at them tomorrow night when they play Ole Miss at 9. But Kentucky's gonna have to have an answer, and they've got to. This team that they're gonna play on Saturday is capable of putting up some points.
Yep.
They're not consistent with it, but they're capable of it. So
Arkansas needs this game if they're going to have if they're going to have any hope of getting back near the NCAA tournament bubble. So they're going to be desperate.
We're getting UK should have 3 titles. I get that, but UK will never win one in football. And I'm on board with a new coach. It's time. And again, is that why they hired Billy G? If it were that easy for UK just to pick their coach, why did Barnard have to hire a coach he never wanted to hire? That was an interesting
the whole situation was a little different after Tubby left. I think there was no, the program is still, even no matter what you think of Calipari, it's still in better shape now than it was when Tubby left.
Oh, I don't disagree with that. I mean, I think when Tubby left, the idea that you got to remember, I think, amongst college basketball coaches, how loved Tubby Smith is.
Yeah.
And
deservedly so.
Absolutely deservedly so. He's one of the nicest human beings you will ever meet. And when Kentucky fans basically ran Tubby out of town for, having 20-plus wins a year, whatever it was. And again, it's kind of it wasn't ever going to be the sexiest style of play because those teams were defense first teams. They always were. I mean, you don't get a guy like Chuck Hayes playing in the NBA as long as he did, unless he's an outstanding defender. Keith Bogan's 2,000-point scorer, but an outstanding defender. That was college basketball's kind of way of saying, hey, man, if you're going to treat a coach like that way, then we're just not going to really show a whole lot of interest. Now it's a completely different ballgame. If you're Kentucky, this is a serious question because I don't think he was ever an option before, but he could be an option now. But is it past? Is Billy Donovan an option now?
I don't think so.
I think
I'd
it's past him, right?
If Billy Donovan came back. I think that's the one Patino guy that there's no way.
Yeah. He just passed on too much.
Too?
Well, I mean, he's not. He doesn't carry the same weight that he did, right?
No, but if when you're coaching in the NBA, you're probably not leaving that.
Maybe not, and the game in college basketball is different now too with that transfer portal and
right.
NIL and all that stuff.
A lot of guys just don't want to deal with that.
Okay, so anything else you want to add to tonight?
No, I think what we've talked about, I think that wraps it up as far as, we just have to kind of reevaluate our expectations for this team a little bit. This is their most alarming performance of the season. We're going to see in a big way how they bounce back on Saturday. But, I mean, I can't call this team the favorite in the SEC anymore after what they did tonight. And
I think Auburn's the favorite.
I think Auburn's the favorite right now. I think Alabama's up there. They're going to play tomorrow. That's going to be a heck of a game. But we saw the blueprint. If Kentucky gets bounced and underachieves, we've seen the kind of game that it's going to look like.
All right, we got two final texters, then we're going to get out here. I don't disagree, but fans think every single coach is just begging to coach at their school. Donovan didn't want to. The game, this last text is fantastic because I think this is a great way to end. The game insured will be a 3 or 4 seeds. The computers hated us before tonight, and I'm starting to wonder how right the computers are because if Kentucky is a true top 10 team, they don't lose the way they lost tonight, and they don't lose the UNC Wilmington, and we're just getting these reminders creeping up,
That's
I
true.
said 5 SEC losses. 2 losses going into the most competitive stretch of games worries me. I think 5 is now probably low. I think we're probably looking at probably 6, maybe 7.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
And the Miami win doesn't look nearly as good as we thought at the time.
Nope. And so the 4 seed might be in trouble, but they need to be in one of those top 4 seeds.
Yeah, you don't want to be the 5 that's in one of those 5-12 games.
Absolutely, especially given the second round exit possibility there in a 5-4 game for sure.
Right.
All right, we'll see you all later Saturday. Go Cats.